Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today here in Nashville, Tennessee, special treat. Thanks to Claire Ratliff, who set this up for us. Lorrie Morgan is joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
She is the first woman in her genre to begin her career with three consecutive platinum albums. And she's back in the studio with award-winning producer Richard Landis. Now, if you don't know who Richard is, this guy has worked with the likes of Neil Diamond, Kenny Rogers, Poco, and Vince Gill. So you're in good company.
I am in good company for sure.
And they're working on a new album together. She is the daughter of Country Music Hall of Fame George Morgan. She made her debut in the Grand Ole Opry at the age of 13. Wow. So you were inducted into the Grand Ole Opry at the age of 24. She's had more than 40 hits on the Billboard country charts, including 3 number ones. Songs including 5 Minutes, What Part of No, and I Didn't Know My Own Strength. Lorrie married fellow country singer Keith Whitley in 1986. She signed to RCA Records in 1987, and her onslaught of hits began the following year. Whitley's tragic death of alcohol overdose in 1989 left her a widowed working mother. Their duet, Till a Tear Becomes a Rose, earned her a 1990 CMA award. She sang The Sad Cafe, which was on the Common Threads, which was the Songs of the Eagles album, which earned a CMA award for Album of the Year. She's recorded in collaboration with her father as well as Keith Whitley, Frank Sinatra. I think I want to have a conversation with you on that one. Johnny Mathis, Tammy Wynette, the Beach Boys, which you were recently on stage with. Dolly Parton, Andy Williams, the New World Philharmonic, and Pam Tillis. She's also working on a second project of original songs co-written with Larry Gatlin. You have nothing going on, do you?
Not a dang thing.
You really came from royalty with your father, the Grand Ole Opry, and his legacy. When did you decide that you really wanted to get out on your own and accomplish something by your own right?
I don't know that day hit me like that. My dad passed away when I was going into my senior year of high school. No, I'm sorry, my junior year of high school. And I just started singing with his band. They would call me and say, hey, we're going to do this little club downtown, or do you want to sit in? And so I always knew I wanted to be a singer or an actress or something to do with some kind of drama.
Right.
I always knew that was my calling, but I didn't expect it to be in that way, that there would have to be a tragedy for me to get into that way. And my dad was my number one fan. He knew that I had something in me wanting to come out, but I didn't plan on it actually happening that way. I started working with his band and realized that kind of music wasn't what I wanted to sing. And so that took a lot of bravery, if you will, to tell that band that I wanted to go a different direction. And I was still friends with a lot of his band, but if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have learned a lot of what I learned. And I think sometimes, right now anyway, the music industry is so easy to get into, but when I was growing up, you were blind in the dark, trying to find your way, where you fit in, and if somebody on Music Row would even listen to you. So I had to find my way in the blind, in the dark, And I think it gave me a lot of strength to do that, to do it that way. But I never really had a plan. You know, there was never a plan. It just kind of fell into place after my dad died.
When we talk about the era that you broke into in country music, and you can really say any genre in the 80s, it was tough for women. And I mean, because especially in Nashville, it was a good old boys club.
It still is.
Yeah. Okay. How difficult was that for you to be your own individual and not have to bow down to, you know, getting past that door, those gatekeepers?
So many times I you know, almost gave up. It was so degrading. It was more. I mean, it was more a men's world then than it is now, of course. But it was so degrading to actually kind of go and beg and say, "Hey, I can sing. I can write songs," and being somewhat laughed at, like, "Yeah, right. You know, girls don't write songs, or they don't write hit songs for sure," and. So it was a lot of crying, a lot of praying. I think, I don't know if you remember a gentleman by the name of Bob Jennings. He was A&R guy at Acuff Rose Publishing Company in Nashville. He was a great friend of my dad's. He worked at Four Star record label for years, and then after my dad passed away and that label closed, he worked signing writers at Acuff Rose Publishing Company. And I went in there one day, me and my brother went in with a sack full of songs, really, and sat down, and he signed us that day as writers. And so that kind of made us legitimate writers as far as the music industry was concerned. Well, if Wesley Rose signed her, you know, she must have something. So it helped me get my foot in the door as a writer. Still, it was very difficult to be recognized as being serious because I was George's daughter. Dad had been around since 1949, and here I come up and I'm singing Ralph Emery Morning Show, and I'm like the wallpaper in Nashville. And it was really hard to, new people would come in, Tanya Tucker, Kathy Mattea, all these people would come in and they'd get noticed right away, but I was still stuck on that wall. And it was hard. It was really hard, and especially hard when Tony Brown from MCA at the time, they wanted to sign me, and they did sign me for a week, and I didn't agree with them, and they didn't agree with me. He wanted me to quit hanging out at the Grand Ole Opry and to quit doing the Ralph Emery Morning Show. All the things that I loved in the industry, the Opry. I mean, that's where I went every Friday and Saturday night. It's not cool. I don't want you to be there. And I want you to dress kind of black gothic. And I'm like, okay, I don't think this is going to work. And that's only there's only been 2 times I have called off a record deal in my life or working with somebody, and that was the first one. And it's still hard to, because men, if you're a smart guy like you, I know you are just by talking to you at the front door. If you're smart like you are, wow, you're incredible. But if you're smart like I am, I'm a bitch to work with because I know what I want. I know how to run a business. I know how to run my band, but it's a different name. It's a different name, and I don't know what those 2 names are. I know what mine is, but I don't know. I don't know. It's been a tough business. It is a tough business, and it's no place for sissies.
I actually like that. We may use that as the title of the show. Do you think it's changing all these years later? I don't want to use the word softening up. Is it becoming more of a balanced playing field? It sounds like maybe it still isn't.
Well, I don't know, because I'm not in the middle of what's going on right now.
Right.
I'm not. I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing something. I'm working on these 2 albums that is Lorrie Morgan. It's not designed for radio. It's not designed in competition with some of these great young female artists. I take nothing away from them, but I don't know the ends of the business right now. I only know what I want to do with a great producer, Richard Landis, and a great writer, Larry Gatlin, and our love and our depth for music. That's what it's about. I don't know I don't even know who is on Music Row right now. I couldn't tell you the president of any company. I am just going by the seat of my pants and the pain and love in my heart for music. And hopefully it's going to win us a Grammy, because that's what it's about. That's what it's supposed to be about.
Growing up in the business and you starting to make inroads and once again getting your foot in the door, were there certain artists that you looked up to, respected, that you wanted to get to know, spend some time with? Was there somebody that you really just went, that's an artist I'd like to hang out with and maybe pick their brain?
Yeah, it was Tammy Wynette.
Yeah.
I mean, she was my idol. She was everything that I have now personally gone through as a woman. She was going through when I was a younger girl. But somehow or another, I felt her pain as a young girl. I could feel in her songs. I could feel everything about Tammy, and I ended up being very good friends with Tammy. And we used to have dumpling cook-offs. We would see who
you'd have what
dumpling cook-offs. We'd see who could make the best dumplings.
Yeah.
And but she was so precious, and she was so gentle and so kind. And that song she wrote, "I'll Just Keep On Falling in Love Till I Get It Right," that's my autobiography. I mean, that is me. That is me. And so Tammy was that one person that I just idolized, because I felt she was real. She was singing towards women. And I loved Loretta too, but it was a different. Loretta was, she was a little bit more honky tonk than I was. I wasn't honky tonk. Can I have a drink?
You can do whatever you want.
I'm talking about tequila. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, I only have whiskey.
I take that.
Claire will tell you my one bad habit, especially on the weekends, is a glass of bourbon and a cigar and sit out in the patio.
That's
It's me.
Sounds like a good habit.
Yeah, it's a nice little vice to have.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn, and did you get a chance to work with Tammy or
I did.
Jeannie Seeley or any of those artists?
Jeannie, I love Jeannie too, because Jeannie was a rebel and I was a rebel. I'd been a rebel since high school, since grade school, and I looked up to Jeannie Seeley. Oh my gosh, she was the ultimate gunslinger. I mean, she was just like, I'll pull a gun on you in a heartbeat. I don't even know if she had a gun, but
she'd go out and get one.
Oh, she'd get one if she needed one. And over the years, Jeannie has softened. She has softened a lot. But when I was hanging out with Jeannie and Jack, and my ex-husband Ron Gaddis played bass for him on the road, the crazy Jeannie, she's gone now, but I heard stories and saw stories firsthand of the craziness that went on out there on the road. But there's something about, she always loved me. She always, I don't know if she saw me or her in me as a young girl, but for some reason she always trusted me. She always took me under her wing. You know, she really did. And I'll never know why.
In the industry, one of the things that we kind of touched briefly on it, but the trappings of the industry, and obviously when we talk about Keith and his drinking, were drugs or alcohol ever anything that got in the way of what you were trying to accomplish?
Never.
Yeah.
I never tried cocaine.
Which is rare in this business.
Very, very rare. I'll tell you a quick story. It's a known story. I was working with George Jones. I was the gal singer in George's band, and my husband Ron was the bass player. And I was 21 years old. The only person, or the only music industry I knew was from my dad, who was mellow, happy, a wonderful father, just the sweetest heart you could ever imagine. So that's what I thought country music was. Mm-hmm. Well, I get out on the road with Jones, and I'm like, what in the hell is this? I mean, I was like, whoa. And so one year for Christmas, true story, George brought us all in the back of the bus, the band, me, and he said, Merry Christmas, and he pulled out a bag of cocaine that, I don't know, probably a little bit smaller than my purse. And he gave it to this one and to that one, and they took their time. And I'm sitting there nervous wreck because I'm thinking, what am I going to do when it gets to me?
Yeah. And
so it finally got to me, and I passed it right to George, and he said, and they were all like, Lorrie, what's the deal? And I'm like, I want a real Christmas present. Y'all's is going to be gone in just a minute. I want a present that lasts. I don't stick nothing up my nose. And George said, well, all right. Well, the next day we stopped in Mobile, Alabama at a boot store, and George bought me 2 beautiful lizard pair of cowboy boots. And the band was so mad they couldn't stand it. I said, see, your Christmas present's gone. I still got mine.
Yeah.
But I've never, ever tried cocaine. I've, been around weed a little here and there. But I love tequila, but my habit was cigarettes. And I quit smoking 16 years ago, and I haven't had one since. So I guess I'm a wine connoisseur now, and I love my wine, but that's about it.
In the studio with us today here in Nashville, Tennessee, Lorrie Morgan. When you have a Korg synth at your fingertips, the possibilities are endless. Be it digital, analog modeling, altered FM, wave sequencing, or the multi-engine synth, Korg gives you easy access to a variety of features to help you get the perfect sounds quickly. Whether you're a professional musician or just starting out, Korg truly has a synthesizer to help you express yourself. Visit Korg.com or your favorite Korg dealer to get your hands on one of their products to create new music always. Korg, the official sponsor of the business side of music. Back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee, Lorrie Morgan's sitting across the table from us here. How did you and Keith meet?
Well, we met a couple times that I always call was my first time because I always forget about the first time I met him. Anyway, that's another story. I met Keith first on the Ralph Emery Morning Show. I didn't really know who he was, but he sang so good, and he was so cute. And I believe he even had a cowboy hat on that morning, but he was with his wife then, Kathy. And we started talking that morning about, he said, I believe we have something in common. And I'm thinking, oh, really? Oh, really? And he said, no, my producer is Don Gant at Acuff Rose, and your producer is Ronnie Gant. They're brothers, and Ronnie produces you, and Don produces me. And I was like, wow, that is true. I didn't think nothing of it,
Right.
Went about my business. And I was receptionist at Acuff Rose before they signed me as a writer. And one day I went to the back. You had to go all the way back past all the wards and everything to go to the print room. They printed their own music at Acuff Rose. They had their own print shop, everything. So I would go to the back with Dave, this older guy who worked back in the print shop. He and I would take smoke breaks together and get a Coke. And I said, whoa, shh, be quiet. And I heard from the studio this voice that I couldn't believe how good this voice was. And he was singing a slowed down version, I think, of Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind? He was doing the demo on it. And I said, oh, I got to go. And I put my cigarette out, and I ran to the studio, and there was the most handsome man with a voice to match singing in the studio, and I was just in awe of him. Ronnie was in there, Don was in there, and at that time, Keith was still married to Kathy. Kathy was in there, and Keith came out of the booth and came in the studio, and I said, Keith, I'm Lorrie Morgan. He said, you don't have to tell me who you are. He said, I love your record of Someday We'll Be Together. It was an old Supreme song. Worst record I ever did in my life, okay? And I said, you've got to be kidding. He said, no, man. He said, that was really cool. He said, this is my wife and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. Next time I heard him sing, I didn't know who it was. I was on my way to do my Friday night Opry. And I still lived at my mom's house. And oddly enough, this is a strange little story, but it's gone in my book as well. The next day, I was supposed to move in with Ron Morgan, my daughter's daddy. We were separated, okay? So I didn't know what I knew I needed to do it for Morgan, but I wasn't happy about it. And so I was still living at my mom's and with Morgan, and Keith Bilbrey was the Opry host that night, the announcer. And this song was on. It was called Miami, 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 Miami. And I was like, oh, my God. And I pulled my car off to the side of the road. I swear I had goosebumps all over me. And nothing had ever affected me that way. Nothing in my life. No song, nothing. And all of a sudden, Keith Bilbrey, the song ended, and he said, well, that was Keith Whitley, a brand new star on the scene. He's going to be on the 7:45 Opry spot tonight. And, buddy, I slammed that gas down, and I was like, I got to get to the Grand Ole Opry. And I walked in the back door, and he was standing there, and I stuck my hand out again, and he said, Lorrie Morgan. And I said, Keith Whitley. And a few seconds later, we kind of parted and we're talking to people. He walked up behind me and he said, hey, I just recently got a divorce, and I was wondering if you'd like to, I don't know, maybe go to the park tomorrow and walk around, eat ice cream, just talk.
Wow.
And I said, divine intervention. I went to church the next morning. When I got home, there was a message on my Codaphone, and it said, good morning, Lorrie. This is Keith Whitley. I wanted to know if you wanted to, go to the park or whatever. And I said, I called my ex right then, and I said, I'm not coming. I made my mind up. I know it's not right. And I went with Keith, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like when, and it just recently happened, when he got inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Oh. Well, it was sad happy, because I know that Keith never thought himself worthy of a record deal and the Opry. He was shy in a way, and he just never believed in himself that people really thought he was great. I mean, he's almost unbelievable to him. And so, when they told us that he was going to be inducted, it was I mean, my son and I were there, and we just bawled. I mean, before the news was out, we were at my manager's office, and they brought us in a room and had us on film and told us the news. And
did you have any idea?
Not at all. Not at all. They told us we were coming down there to talk to a film crew about doing a movie about Keith Whitley. So we were laughing and talking and, and everything. And they told us he was going in the Hall of Fame. And Tony, my manager, cried. We cried. We've worked really hard to get him in the Hall of Fame. And he, even though his career was short, nobody has affected modern country music. And I'm not talking modern today. I'm talking about modern Garth Brooks, modern Randy Travis. Nobody's affected country music the way Keith Whitley did. And it's so deserving. And he has his forever home now in country music. Nobody can take that from him.
That's right. Yeah. Talking about the Grand Ole Opry, you had the opportunity to share the stage with the Beach Boys.
I did.
What was that like?
Oh, my God. I was a wreck. I really was. I felt like it was my first time on the Grand Ole Opry.
Really?
My knees were knocking. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm standing on the stage of the Opry with the Beach Boys. Who would have thought the Beach Boys would ever be on the Opry? And let alone to ask me to come sing the song with them. And Mike Love and Bruce, and gosh, Brian wasn't there, but it was magical for me. I forgot where I was. I was on the beach with the Beach Boys somewhere, and I could have stayed there all night long.
Was that a band that you listened to growing up as a kid?
Oh my gosh, yes. I loved the Beach Boys. My sisters brought me up on people like Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and the Beach Boys and Diana Ross and the Supremes. And, I fell in love with all that great music. Marvin Gaye, all those great singers from years ago. And then when they first called me to record with the Beach Boys, I was like, is this a joke? This has got to be a joke, right? And it wasn't. And, oh, wow. It's really strange. I'll tell you a secret. That won't be a secret after this. The day we were in the studio in Nashville singing with the Beach Boys, I wore these sandals. And Mike Love had an obsession of my feet. And he said, hey, if you feel, like you're nervous or something, he said, I'll be glad to rub those feet for you. And that's what he told me in the studio. Now listen, here we are, how many years later after Stars and Stripes? The other night at the Opry, he said, I'll still rub those feet for you.
Oh my gosh.
I said, oh my God. Anyway, that's quite a compliment. Mike Love.
Frank Sinatra. I got to ask you about that one because I'm a huge Frank fan.
Me too.
What happened there? How did that come about?
Your guess is as good as mine. I was not fortunate enough to meet Frank.
Yeah.
It was his Duet 2 album, so everybody put their part on
right
individually after Frank. But I got an invitation to, they sent me this cassette and they said, would you be interested in singing this song with Frank Sinatra? Again, I'm like, is this a joke? I mean, first off, I found myself not worthy to sing with Frank Sinatra. I'm like, I can't sing with Frank Sinatra. That would be, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was worthy enough. And so they said, take the tape and listen to it and let us know what you think. And I got through halfway and I said, I can do this. I can do this.
In fact, I'm going to do this.
I'm going to try to do this for sure. So Phil Ramone came in. People who don't know, Phil Ramone is Frank's great producer. I think we just lost Phil not too long ago.
A few years ago, yeah.
And he came in and took me into the studio, and he had the big tape back then, you know, of Frank. And I'm like, he's holding Frank Sinatra in his hands. You know, it was like, oh, my God. And they put it on, and I didn't freeze, but I wasn't feeling the click, the timing. So we called my producer, Richard Landis, and he came in with Phil Ramone, and Richard did his magic and directed me when to come in. And after he directed me one time, he sat back and we replayed it, and I sang it from beginning to end with no stop. And it was just magic. And when I first heard Frank sing, I started crying. I mean, as a little girl, I watched him all my life. I never thought I would be able to sing with Frank Sinatra. That's a dream come true. A dream I didn't even dream.
Never thought that would happen.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
In the studio with us today here in Nashville, Tennessee, Lorrie Morgan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena. And believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message. Thanks.
Back in the studio here, Nashville, Tennessee, Lorrie Morgan is joining us in the studio. You touched on it briefly, almost like skipping a stone across a pond, but let's go a little deeper. You're writing a book.
I am.
What's it going to be about?
Well, it's autobiographical. Is that the correct word? I've been working on this book for 5 years. And every time I start writing it, I think, oh, I can't tell that. Oh, no, I can't tell that
Are
either.
you one of those people that you're waiting for some of these people to pass away?
Kind of.
Yeah, okay. I get you.
Kind of.
I get you.
A couple of them have. I think I'm clear on that. No, I don't. It's not a bunch of smut. It's not scoop. It's true stories that happened to me.
But it's about your life.
Affected my life.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying, oh, and then I heard so-and-so did this and so. I was there. I was in this book. I am the book. And it is my story. And I think if you don't tell stories, people never know who you really are and why you ended up where you are and why you make the decisions you make. It all ties together in this book. Everything ties together, and it's been really hard for me to put it together in the correct
sequence of events.
Yeah. And I'm doing it. I asked my old publicist about writing the book, and I said, "Who should I get for a ghostwriter?" She said, "Lorrie, you do not need a ghostwriter. You're a great writer. You tell the stories as they were. You don't need to share this with anybody. This is you. This is you've grown. You know what you want to say. And you know what? The truth is the truth. And I'm not telling lies about anybody. And it's not all just about individual people. It's about my life, about growing up with, you know, my sisters and my brother and catching crawdads and, you know, not knowing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be this. But then there's affairs. There's things that happened in my life that I don't even know if I would take them back, because they made me smarter. They made me more sympathetic.
Life lessons.
Yeah.
When we talk about writing, you doing songwriting these days?
I do some. I am doing some songwriting. I'm writing with Larry Gatlin.
Yeah.
And I'm so flattered that he has kind of taken me under his wing. And
is this something you hadn't done before, or is this something you always dabbled in, or is this a whole new?
Oh, I've always written songs. I've got songs on almost all my albums.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when I met Chris Christopherson years ago, and I sang him a couple of my songs, and he was crying, and he said, "Don't you ever record an album without your songs on those albums."
That's
ever.
Quite the compliment.
And I've always lived by that, whether the producer liked it or not. I said, my song's going on the album. My song's going on the album. So I've always written songs, always all my life, since I was 10, 11, 12 years old.
Where do you draw your inspiration from when it comes to writing? Is it going back to those life lessons, or is it something in the moment?
I'm still learning life lessons.
Yeah.
I'm still in those moments. I still make mistakes. I still have crazy moments when I think, oh, gosh, I can't do that. You know, I mean, I do. I have crazy moments. And I'm still a young woman. I still dream, and I write a lot about my dreams. I write a lot about what I want to do, where I want to be, who I want to be with. But they're dreams. And you know, I was always told, if you quit dreaming, you quit living. And I don't ever want to stop wanting romance in my life and wanting, now how deep the romance goes, that's, you know, we all get to a certain age where things don't happen anymore. But the book is about my life. I draw my inspiration from my life. I draw my songs from my life. Whether I want to be in that song, or I've been in that song, or I'd like to be in that song, there's something in that song that I have felt.
You and Naomi Judd, we recently lost her, sadly. You two had a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You'd spend time together backstage in the Grand Ole Opry, didn't you?
A lot of time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about me that Naomi was drawn to. I don't know if she thought maybe I needed some guidance from her. She always wrote me, I wish I'd have saved them, you know, but you never think. She wrote me notes. She gave me a book to write in that I still have. And I'm going to talk about this book in my book, but it's an empty book. Pages and pages of nothing for me to write. And I did. I wrote in it, but the story comes in the book. And but she would always send for me backstage at the Opry, and she would always just take my hand so gentle and just talk to me and say, "How are you?" and tell me where you are in your life. And I think for every wedding, she sent me a wedding present for every wedding. Maybe she thought something would stick. I don't know. Oh, she knew it was tough.
Yeah.
She knew it was tough. And she was a special lady to me.
A lot of good memories.
A lot of good memories. She was always, always kind to me.
You know, I talk to your publicist, and I see things on Facebook that pop up regarding Hot Chicken, and I'm starting to finally figure out why I'm seeing this a lot. You've actually been named the ambassador of Nashville Hot Chicken, which for those that don't live in Nashville or haven't been here, don't understand, that's a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
People literally come to Nashville to eat hot chicken.
Yes,
and
they
then,
do.
of course, it's the battle of where do you go?
Right.
You know, do you
That's
go
right.
to Hattie B's or do you go to Prince's or, you know, and I've got my favorites. But I'm not,
What are your favorites?
well, Prince's is absolutely my favorite.
Hands down.
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
I think Hattie B's is good, but the lines to me aren't worth it.
Yeah.
Drive down to Prince's Fried Chicken or go to the Assembly Food Hall where they have a place, and I can't handle anything maybe more than the medium. Beyond that,
Am I allowed to say my favorite place in
please
Nashville?
do.
I had a restaurant years ago. We were like the third hot chicken restaurant in Nashville when I was married to Sammy Kershaw. And we had a booming business. We had the best hot chicken and blah, blah, blah. And then the divorce ended everything. Then my current husband, Randy, and I moved to Florida, Panama City Beach, and we opened up a hot chicken restaurant there. Absolutely phenomenal. And COVID shut us down like 4 times. Could find no help, couldn't get chicken, couldn't get that. We just said, you know what? We're too old for this stress. We sold the restaurant and we moved back to Nashville. Now, I will tell you, the best, and I am a hot chicken connoisseur, the best hot chicken in Nashville is 400 Degrees on Clarksville Highway.
I'm going to have to check that place out.
You talk about crunch, juicy. I'm telling you, order it online and pick it up right away. You don't have no line, nothing.
How did you come about being named the ambassador for Nashville Hot Chicken?
Well, because I eat it all the time. And I've tasted every restaurant in town, that I know of. And some of them I really like, but none are better than 400 Degree. And I was a judge at the hot chicken, what do they call it? The hot chicken fair? What do they call it?
The festival.
Festival, thank you. And I was a judge there. I've been a judge a few places that serve hot chicken. And I don't know. I guess it's just because I promote hot chicken wherever I go. Hey, we used to be right next door to Hemp Hill. I think it was Hemp Hill.
The bus company?
Bus company.
Yeah.
That's where my restaurant was. And every Friday and Saturday night, you'd have big Prevost buses pull up to the restaurant, and they'd get like 20 pieces of our chicken, and they'd put it on the bus, and people were addicted. It's an addiction.
It absolutely is.
It is.
Yeah. Staying healthy, eating a lot of good food, but I mean, exercising.
Oh yeah, I'm really sad. The new place we've moved into, my pool's kind of not ready, but I've still been swimming in it. But I'm an avid. I love swimming. And it's great for every part of your body. I've just started eating once a week. I can have meat, and that's my chicken. That's my hot chicken. I save it. But I've just started eating the plant-based, all the weird stuff, the plant-based food, and it's kind of crazy. But I'm learning it. I'm learning to spice it up and eat it. Have you ever had plant-based sausage?
I'm going to have to say no.
Well, I thought I can't do it. But I figured out a way to, you put a little spices on it and you fold it over your keto bread, and oh my God, it's so good.
Can you make gravy out of it?
No, because I don't think you can eat dairy.
Yeah, see, well, that's where you lose me.
I know, everything has its faults.
You've mentioned a couple really great producers that you've been around and had the chance to work with, but you want to do some producing on your own with other artists.
I do. Matter of fact, I just talked to Richard Landis on the way here, and he's going to help me find the correct room and the right engineer to. I'm getting ready to produce a young lady. Her name is Morgan Cheyenne, and she is phenomenal. She's Loretta Lynn country.
Wow.
She don't pretend that she's and I told her, I said, when country music gets back to being country music, and it will, because everything always evolves and comes back.
Yep.
You're going to be a star. You are going to be a big star. And she is precious. She's 24 years old. She opened for me in Texas a year ago. And I picked her up that night, asked her mom. Is this
one that is on the road with you now in the band? Yeah.
She's in the band.
Right.
Yeah. And I picked her up that night, asked her mom and dad if she could go with us to Oklahoma, and they said, sure. And then I asked her the next night, said, you want to go to Nashville? She said, yes, ma'am. And we took her to Nashville and then got her to Nashville, and she did a couple of things. I said, you want to work for me? And she said, yes, ma'am. And so,
wow.
And we feature her a lot on, I'd like to feature her for 30 minutes. And sometimes she does get to open for me. But she is going to be a star. I'm telling you, she's not one of these, I don't even know who's happening right now. What girls? I don't know. I don't know. But she's Loretta Lynn.
Yeah.
Reborn.
Is this your first venture as a producer in the studio with an artist?
It is pretty much, basically, because Richard and I kind of tried to do something with a young lady years and years and years ago, and just wasn't right. The team didn't fit.
Yeah, the chemistry wasn't there.
And but if I can't make her a star, she's going to make herself a star. But I do know how to lead her and how to fix her up and how to. She's got what it takes. She's smart. She knows how to talk on air. She's just everything. She's all that, the whole ball of wax, and she did it herself.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
You're welcome.
This has been a great conversation.
You're welcome.
So we don't get your brother pissed off at us.
Which is every day. Go ahead.
There's a song and a video about hot chicken?
Yes, there is. I told you that we had our hot chicken restaurant, and when we opened up our hot chicken restaurant, and started talking about and promoting, hot chicken, all the stars started coming out. Excuse me. And it seemed like they would get all this chicken and they'd take it to their bus and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, my brother had this idea that we would promote for Nashville, for not for any individual restaurant, but for Nashville, because we are known for Nashville Hot Chicken. And so we got Daryl Worley and, excuse me, I'm sorry, Pam Tillis and Rhonda Vincent, Jeannie Seeley. Oh, gosh, who else did we get, Claire? I can't think. We've got a lot of artists on these songs, and we did a video of them. Oh, we got Larry Gatlin and Vince Gill. And they're all singing a line in the hot chicken song about come to Nashville and, when you're passing through our town, be sure to get something cold to wash it down, and it's really a fun video. And we're supposed to be releasing it sometime in June or July, I don't remember. But the people, our friends were so nice to take time out of their schedule and come sing, songs about. We're supposed to have it played at the Titans game and the Predators, and so let's just hope we get some, and it'll help our town. Yeah. I mean, because people, when we had our restaurant, people came here from England to eat our hot chicken, and it was crazy. But we were sending our chicken around the world overnight in vacuum froze chicken vacuum pack with directions how to heat it up.
If you've got cities like, Miami's known for its Cuban food, Chicago's known for its deep dish pizzas, mm-hmm. Why not Nashville and hot chicken?
Exactly. That's what we're thinking.
Yeah, perfect match.
Perfect match.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been great.
You're welcome. Thank you.